What is up YouTube, and welcome to this Lupin Part 2 review. I might do an ending explained breakdown the day that this show is out, but if you want that, let me know. But for now, let's have a chat, a spoiler-free chat about Lupin Part 2. Now, the show picks up directly after Part 1's cliffhanger of Hassan's son being kidnapped by Leonard, the man who murdered Hassan's father and made it look like a suicide, and Youssef himself asking if Hassan is Lupin. We know that Hubert is the one responsible for Hassan's father's death, and with a very, very strong Part 1 that honestly in parts gave Sherlock, yes, the Benedict Cumberbatch Sherlock, a real run for its money in the sheer ingenuity and cleverness. However, Part 1 had that lingering thread of Hassan working out what Hubert did and who was behind his father's death. With that found out, Part 2 is simply about forcing the justice for his father by catching Hubert, who literally controls the police and the government. This isn't to say that this Part 2 is not gripping, as some of the reveals of what Hassan has been getting up to and the clangers that drop that reveal his plans, well, they are incredibly clever. And they really do give the Part 1 a real run for its money, especially a storyline that runs for 2 or 3 episodes in the background, and my face was stuck on the shocked Pikachu face the entire time it was revealed. Now, I feel like Omar has really grown into his role as Hassan, but the promise of a huge police and Lupin link-up was dashed right away, as they do A Quiet Place 2, where both properties picked up directly after the first cliffhanger, but ignore certain parts, such as the attack in A Quiet Place and, well, the question of, are you Lupin? Now, I was very excited for this straddling of the law, and while there was a link up between the police and Lupin in parts, it was very far away from what I really expected, or to be honest, actually wanted. However, we got a lot more of the underrated part of the show, which is Hassan and his best mate Ferrell, which they're really, really cool. The pair are firing on all cylinders, and the writing of the bromance is superb even across time periods, as the flashbacks are back. But while they were originally there to provide clues for the present, here they just simply provide context for the modern day state of Hassan's relationships and kind of add more weight to what was going on, especially with the love triangle, which is by far and away the weakest part of the show, with a tacked on storyline for Claire, which really barely went anywhere and felt incredibly superfluous, and some of the decisions with that character felt a bit pointless. And, well, it was a shame that there was so much of that huge family thing going on towards the end in the last episode, but it kind of really dropped off, and, well, I won't go into spoilers, but I wasn't really a fan of it. However, the show is as sharp as ever, but while this was a rip-roaring rampage of revenge, we never really got to know Hassan as a person. We know his troubled life and have a quite striking experience in Part 2 with the experiences of racism in flashbacks, which, well, while interesting, we never get to see what makes him as a person tick. His character is always reactionary as to what is happening, or he's simply planning something out. There's no real look into the psyche of himself and what he actually wants. We never know what he wants outside of anything other than getting revenge, and makes him a bit of a 2D character, which is a real shame. Of course, each part was only 5 episodes, and due to the hugely complicated plots and schemes of Hassan, most of the screen time is taken up by this, but we never have the clash that Sherlock would have with someone like Moriarty, where they would probe into the person and who they really are. And we never really have the Watson character where they real butt heads. We just have 2 mates, and the guy's like, oh, go on then, Hassan, I will risk my whole business and life for this kind of vendetta that you're on. Might as well. A Sherlock and Lupin team-up was teased and is quite notable in its story, which had a long and real complicated publication history, let alone the actual book itself. Well, while a crossover with Literary's other great detective, it is a bit early, but it has my interest at least. overall, part 2 really does deliver, and while there aren't any major reveals and the characterization of almost every single character is largely undercooked, it's a thrilling ride across Paris, which I really hope for a sequel. Now, the problem is that the show just ends. It just ends. The reveal is done, and when you watch it, you'll understand what I mean by what I'm about to say. Of course, we had the whole thing with him pretend to be a TV person and a journalist. Well, that could have just been solved in part 1. So I will leave that as a little clue for you there. And the ending, it's a bit like Quiet Place 2, where you feel like something's going to happen. No one gets any just desserts, but hey, let me know what you think down in the comments when you watch it. But that's it for this video. Please drop a like down below. Do subscribe with notifications on. And if you want more, yes, if you want more reviews, because I actually quite enjoyed making a review for once, a proper review, then let me know. I'll see you soon, and goodbye.